Afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the first webinar of Black Diamond's Destination Webinar Series. And as you all know, today is an introduction to Colorado. So this is the first of a series of destination webinars taking place every Wednesday and Thursday for the next 3 weeks and beyond. So all of the sessions are recorded and will be available to listen to afterwards. So please let your colleagues who cannot make today's session know, because they can come back and listen to everything that we have to say today. So for those of you who I haven't met, I'm Bethan. I'm an account manager at Black Diamond, and today I'm delighted to be co-hosting with Andrea Blankenship, who is the Director of International Tourism at Colorado Tourism Office, and Jennifer Bartlett-Alpert, who is the European Market Manager, also at the Colorado Tourism Office. And I know lots of you have met Jennifer and Andrea in person as well. So today's webinar will last about 30 minutes and it will be followed by a 15-minute question and answer session. So please submit any questions that you have via the chat function, which you should be able to see at the bottom of your screen. So you can submit these at any time during the webinar as they pop into your head, and we will endeavour to answer all of them after the webinar. So Jennifer, Andrea, and myself, we're here to answer any of your Colorado questions or queries. There's no such thing as a silly question, so ask away. That is what we're here for. So I'll be sharing my screen in a moment, so please make sure you put your screen, this Zoom screen, to full page so you can fully enjoy the content that we will be referring to. So we're actually going to start off with a 1-minute video of Colorado. Not to make you even more frustrated that you're stuck at home, but to get you daydreaming of travels to come and inspire you to tell others about Colorado. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm always very impressed with myself that I can do things like this. I'm going to share my screen. Perfect. So you should now all be able to see what I'm seeing. Jennifer, Andrea, can you see what I'm seeing? Perfect. Yes.
We breathe to stay alive. Most times, we don't even notice until something happens. When we go beyond the familiar and embrace an experience that leaves us forever changed. And we notice the world has inspired us to take another deep breath.
Oh no, you can all see my workout videos. How embarrassing. Ignore the workout videos.
Got to pause, Bethan. Well, hello everyone. I'm Andrea Blankenship. As Bethan mentioned just a little bit earlier, I'm the Director of International Tourism for the Colorado Tourism Office. Great to be on this call and see some familiar faces, and we're happy to meet all of the new faces too and tell you a little bit about Colorado. So for those of you who aren't familiar, Colorado, really, as you look at the United States, we're in the western part of the US, and we consider ourselves to be the gateway to the West. Colorado is situated where the Great Plains in the Midwest end and the mountains begin. And that's really what you know Colorado for, of course, is our mountains. You think of us often for skiing or winter, but we're a wonderful year-round destination. You're going to get to hear a lot more about it in the next 30 minutes. So as you work your way into the western part of the US, we are surrounded, actually, we touch 7 other states. We're known to be one of the southwestern states of the Four Corners. So some of our more famous neighbors are Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and just north of us is Wyoming. We know because many of your clients don't just come to Colorado, we're going to show you a couple of options for multi-state as well. But we're known for and I see sunshine actually in the pictures that some of you have, Wendy, but we're known for 300 days of sunshine. We are sunny almost every day of the year. Very rarely do we not see the sun, which is fantastic. We're also known as an outdoor lover's paradise. So whether it's winter sports, summer sports, and you'll get to hear more about all of our activities, we're really a year-round destination. Best time to visit, May through October. And I will say my favorite 2 months of the year are September and October. That's when you're in the mountains. These trees that we call aspen trees start to change color. They're beautiful yellow. Almost every single day is just a beautiful, we call it bluebird sky day, which is fantastic. In May through October, our average temperature depends on where you are in the state. At lower elevations, you're going to average about 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. Once you go up into the mountains, it'll be just a little bit cooler than that. You know, again, we're a Western state. We've got Western history, great mountain scenery, and you're going to get to hear so much more. So how do you get here? I'm sure you all want to know. So we are lucky to have 3 daily flights from London, or I'm sorry, 3 flights from London, 2 of which are daily. British Airways and United Airlines operate out of London Heathrow. It's about a 9-hour, 40-minute flight. It's a little bit longer to get here than it is to return, but they operate those services daily and year-round. We also have Norwegian, which operates in the summer, about that May through October timeframe. They operate out of Gatwick 3 days a week. But the other thing that we do want to point out, because I know we've got people from the northern part of the UK, Scotland and Ireland on the call as well, Icelandair is a great alternative to nonstop flights out of London. They've got so many connections via Reykjavik. It's such an easy airport to transfer through, and there's daily flights from Reykjavik to Denver. Once you get to Denver, we also have 12 regional airports. Colorado's a pretty big state. Drive times can get a little bit long, but these 12 regional airports are located all throughout the state, and there's not a flight that's more than an hour. Aspen, for example, it's about a 45-minute flight. It's a beautiful airport to fly into, a little bumpy. They have special flight routes to get you in and out of Aspen. But Aspen, Durango, Steamboat, many of these other airports also are flown from other cities in the US. So you don't necessarily have to fly into Denver. Other US gateways where it's really easy to get to us are Chicago, Washington, DC, Minneapolis, New York, Dallas, Houston. So needless to say, there's no excuses. Colorado is really easy to get to. So we're going to pretend that you're flying into Denver, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time now introducing you to Denver as a great place to visit. So the beauty of Denver is it also has the 300 days of sunshine. It is a very walkable city. There's almost nothing that you have to have a car for as long as you stay in the city of Denver. So we recommend that you land at Denver International Airport and take the train into town. It's 37 minutes, it's $10.50. It lands you right in the heart of downtown at a place called Union Station, which was our old kind of dark, dingy, train services where the Amtrak trains come in. It's where a lot of our light rail stops come in, but it's this beautiful, refurbished, incredible place, and it's really a gathering place with bars, restaurants, a beautiful old Crawford Hotel. You'll get to see a picture of it later. In Denver, really, it's our urban center. That's where we have amazing food, a lot of James Beard award-winning chefs in all sorts of varieties, all sorts of ethnicities, just absolutely incredible. We also, we're not gonna lie, we like our beverages. Throughout the state of Colorado, we have 360 breweries. You'll find almost 100 of them in Denver. Some people say 75, some people say 100. There's a great Denver beer trail you can follow where they'll give you a walking map from brewery to brewery, 27 of them. So you can polish off about a third of those breweries while you're in Denver. Moving on to culture. Let's talk about Red Rocks. So Red Rocks is the world famous amphitheater that we have. Many of you may be familiar with the YouTube video, Sunday Bloody Sunday, that was shot at Red Rocks. It is literally the place that all bands want to perform. It's a natural, beautiful acoustic theater at night, but during the day, it also is great for activities. A lot of people, I used to do it in my younger days, I'm not gonna lie, I don't do it anymore. but used to come and run the stairs. It's a great way to get fit. They do yoga on the rocks classes. You can go up there and do yoga. And actually around Red Rocks, there's a lot of really good, very easy to moderate hiking trails. So it's a really good way to kind of get your hiking legs on before you head up to the higher mountains. So again, when we talk about Denver, we also talk about it as our cultural and urban center. This is our Denver Blue Bear. It's Denver's mascot. He is leaning against the convention center and he likes to say hi to all of the visitors who are coming in for conventions. But it's our urban center. This is where you're going to find fantastic shopping. The world-class Cherry Creek Mall is in Denver. Culture, this is where we have art museums, everything from History Colorado. This is where our Western history begins. This is a store called Rockmount Ranchwear, where the first snap button cowboy shirt was invented. So all those snap button shirts you see, they were invented in Denver. We also have sports, and it's a great family atmosphere. All 4 of our major sports teams are located within walking distance of downtown. This, I think, happens to be the Denver Broncos football stadium, but our baseball team, hockey team, who's the other one? Basketball team are all there. And of course, we have rugby, we have soccer, or football, sorry. And as you call it, it really is a great place to go. Denver's a wonderful place for families, all walkable, a lot of fun, and really our urban center. Whether you want nightlife or whatever you want to do, you can find it in Denver. So from Denver, of course, you're going to go visit the rest of the state. So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer, who is going to walk you through the rest of the state of Colorado.
I get to do the fun part. So, with Colorado and we have many impressive numbers to share, at least we think so. So we've got 4 national parks, and the closest one to Denver is just an hour and a half from there. It's Rocky Mountain National Park, but there's a number of other parks, 4 of them total. But with our national parks, we'll talk a little bit more about those. You do also want to know the national monuments. And for those of you who do not know the national monuments, as they are, and this is a picture of the Colorado National Monument by Grand Junction, they are typically places that are as beautiful as a national park, but typically less people. So you should definitely include those and recommend to your clients. And then we have 8 historic railroads. So the most famous one of them is the Durango-Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad. Say that when you've got a glass of wine in you. But of course, the California Zephyr is famous as well, which is the Amtrak that runs from New York all the way to California and stops in in Denver, Glenwood Springs, and Grand Junction. And then from that, we've got 26 scenic byways. And as the name says, they're really super scenic and often have some sort of a historical significance as well. A fun fact for the scenic byways is that we are in the process of putting in charging stations for electric vehicles onto a number of the scenic byways, and working with rental companies also to provide the rental electric cars to go with them. So stay tuned on that. Well, we've also got 30 hot springs. The most famous one is probably in Glenwood Springs. With the Glenwood Springs Hot Springs, this is a picture of Steamboat Springs and Strawberry Park Hot Springs. Great to tie in with your itinerary. And then, of course, as many of you know, and being the roof of the United States, we have many, many mountaintops over 4,000 meters, 58. But with that, we have 1,000 mountains that are over 3,000 meters high. So really, we are the roof of the United States. Well, with all those great mountains come many ski areas. We've got 28 ski areas. The most famous ones, Aspen, Vail, Telluride. It's a winter playground. Yep. From that, please do come back to our little section and explore more, because we have many other numbers to talk about. You leave Denver and the Front Range, and very quickly, as many of you do know, you get into nature in Colorado. We have only about 6 million people total, and most of them really do live in the Denver Metro Front Range area. And that said, when you get into nature, of course, you have nature's playground. So biking is one of our favorites, both road biking and mountain biking. Everything is accessible a lot in Colorado. So this is even biking to the Maroon Bells. And there's also a lot of biking in our towns. So Denver, Boulder, everywhere they have bike libraries. So biking is really a way of life, and our guests love to bike as well. But with that, there's four-wheeling, there's backpacking and climbing, just enjoying nature. So if we go out, of course, we love to horseback ride in Colorado. With all of our strong Western heritage, horseback riding is part of our life, and your guests will find many horseback riding outfitters in many towns. But of course, we've got all the guest ranches as well. A great way to explore the state. Well, if we go next, of course, hiking. That's really one of my favorite ways to explore Colorado. There's hiking paths everywhere. I think one of the most famous hiking trails is the Colorado Trail, that you can go hike all the way from Denver down to Durango and easily access, but hiking really in every single town, in every Colorado state park. And then, of course, between our national parks and the monuments everywhere. Again, this is Colorado National Monument. From then on, really, you can get into skiing. Well, many of you know Colorado for skiing. As Andrea said, we have the saying, people come for the winter, but they really stay for the summer. Well, with all these great mountains we've got, and rivers and waters, we also have a lot of hot springs, 30 hot springs plus, I would say. The most famous ones, I would say, is the Glenwood Springs hot springs, but also in Steamboat Springs, the Strawberry Hot Springs. Pagosa Springs. Pagosa Springs is the deepest hot springs in the United States. Well, with all that great water, we have lots of water sports. We have 7 rivers that actually generate in Colorado. The most famous one is the Colorado River, but lends itself, of course, to kayaking and river rafting and stand-up paddleboarding. So, you know, a great way to tie in some water adventure with your trip. And of course, all those rivers, well, there's lots of fishing. So for those of your clients who love to fish, we have incredible streams. Many of them are gold medal streams that are fully stocked, and many fishing camps. The most famous fishing camp is held by the Broadmoor Resort and their fishing camp. Do let Bethan and I know if you have any questions. We'll be able to point you in the right direction. And of course, our wildlife, right? We have incredible wildlife. The best time to watch wildlife is really in the spring and then the fall. Our brown bears, our black bears, but of course, hordes of elk. In fact, there's more elk that live in Estes Park by Rocky Mountain National Park than people live there. They walk the streets. People don't actually think they're wild animals. These are Colorado antelopes, but great time to watch wildlife. And then of course our trains, right? So the most famous train we've already talked about, Durango and Silverton, but there's the California Zephyr. There's also the Georgetown Loop that is just about 40 minutes outside of Denver. And with the Georgetown Loop Railroad, you can also do a mine tour within about a 2.5 hour trip. So fun to build that into any itinerary. And again, with all of our Western heritage and old mining towns come our ghost towns. We have about 1,500 ghost towns that you can access. The most famous one is really St. Elmo. It's the best preserved, but typically they're the old mining towns, and you can go into the old general stores or the old school and see how people lived in the mining area. Yep. And from that on, we're going to explore the state a little bit more with Bethan.
Thank you, Jennifer. So I wanted to contextualize some of the things that Andrea and Jennifer have just spoken about by sort of going back to the map and showing things on a wider scale. So you'll see immediately from the map that Colorado is a state of two halves. The east side of the state is incredibly flat, and the right side of the state, the west side of the state, is incredibly mountainous. And as you'll guess from the number of bubbles on this west side of the state, this is probably where we'd recommend that you send your clients when they're heading to Colorado. So I wanted to start right at the very beginning and highlight just where Denver is, as this is where lots of your clients will be beginning their holiday to Colorado, and it's considered, as Andrea said, the gateway to the West in general. As Jennifer mentioned, we have 4 national parks. We're very lucky to have 4 very diverse national parks in Colorado. The first being the Rocky Mountain National Park, which is just 19 minutes from Denver. And this national park needs no introduction. It's world renowned and just, as you can see from this picture, just stunning. And I wanted to highlight here, whilst I've zoomed into this image, I really encourage you, if you have time, to come back after this webinar and explore the different bubbles on the map, because they have different images, they have information and links that you can find out more from. So it's this map itself is a great resource. So we have the Rocky Mountain National Park, we have Mesa Verde National Park, which is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site and home to Native American culture and cliff dwellings. So it's world famous and great for history or archaeology enthusiasts, or Native American history enthusiasts. We also have the Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, which has some of the steepest cliffs in North America and is just incredible for budding photographers or wildlife watchers. Finally, we have the Great Sand Dunes National Park, and I always think these photos look photoshopped, but they're not, trust me. This is actually an ancient seabed that has blown up against the mountains, and as such it's now home to the tallest sand dunes in North America and is amazing for I think I've got a picture, yeah, for sand sledding. So great place for activities. So Colorado is also home to some amazing authentic mountain towns, and any of these towns, I mean, most of you probably would have heard of Aspen or Durango, but all over the state there are some amazing mountain towns which have a real Western nostalgia about them, and it's unsurprising really that many of them are actually double up as film sets for films such as True Grit. So many of the great Western movies were filmed in Colorado, and hopefully from this image you can see why it's very nostalgic of that time. We also have hot springs. We have 30 hot springs. This is just a couple to show you on the map. They're often given away by their name: Steamboat Springs, Glenwood Springs, Pagosa Springs. But your clients, if they're doing outdoor activities during the day, all over the state, they can enjoy natural thermal waters in the evening, and they're non-sulfurous as well, so they don't smell. So that's always. And Jennifer mentioned that we have historic trains, and she mentioned that we have the Durango to Silverton narrow gauge railroad, and that is down here in the southwestern corner of Colorado, and this is probably the most popular rail journey that people choose to do whilst on holiday in Colorado, and they often decide to do that in conjunction with a visit to the Mesa Verde National Park. So there's lots of activities you can do in this southwestern corner. I'm just going to move on to zero accommodation. So we included this section in the webinar because we wanted to show everyone the depth and breadth of accommodation in Colorado, ranging from 5-star luxury hotels to rustic cabins, city hotels, mountain resorts, historic B&Bs. Colorado has it all for all client budgets and needs, and families, multi-generational holidays. There's so many options across Colorado. So firstly in Denver, and please, I encourage you to come back and check out these hotels for yourself, but just as an overview, in Denver we have some wonderful independent hotels such as the Curtis. We have the Crawford, which Andrea mentioned earlier, which is an amazing heritage hotel in the old Union Station. And the Maven, which is more of an artsy kind of hip hotel where the locals go and have their Friday night cocktails. We also have some incredible dude ranches in Colorado, and this is where your clients can live like a cowboy for a day, and they can be as hands-on or luxurious as you like. So there's, if you have any questions about ranches, just let us know, because if your clients love horse riding, they might want to go to a particular ranch, or if they want to have a more luxurious experience, then maybe the Broadmoors Ranch at Emerald Valley would be more suited to their needs. And then of course luxury, we have a huge range of luxury hotels, such as the Grand Dam of hotels, the Broadmoor, which is a 5-star 5-diamond hotel located near Colorado Springs. We have Gateway Canyon Resort and Spa near Grand Junction, the Little Nell in Aspen, and Dunton Hot Springs. I love this hotel because the hot springs are actually in the rooms, in some of the rooms, which is pretty amazing actually. So yeah, we're going to skip on now to some example itineraries, because I'm aware that we've given you a lot of information and ideas, and we just wanted to show you how you might build these into a workable itinerary for your clients. So I know Jennifer was going to start with our national parks itinerary.
Thanks, Bethan. The national parks is really sort of the Colorado classic, I would say, for your guests arriving into Denver and then heading either north or south, either way. And to be truthful, I think heading south might be even the better way. But heading on down to Great Sand Dunes National Park by Alamosa, passing on Pagosa Springs, but ending at Mesa Verde National Park, where you could stay either in Cortez or Mesa Verde, go up to Black Canyon of the Gunnison, where you could stay either in Montrose or Gunnison, then take in Colorado National Monument in Grand Junction, and head on up, go into Rocky Mountain National Park, and heading east. So that's our classic one, and very easy to build in any of the Colorado National Monuments with that one as well. And then another favorite one of mine is tying in the hot springs. And again, note that pretty much all of our itineraries you can tie in with other things, but this is kind of holding on, touching on the main ones. And I want to point out specifically sort of the Buena Vista and Salida area that's kind of in the middle. It's really easy to access Great Sand Dunes from there, but and that is also an area that has the largest concentration of mountains over 4,000 meters. So that's a great place to include. But yeah, so this is just a great example of the hot springs, and tie that in with maybe the national parks, and you have a fantastic itinerary. There we go, turning on to Andrea.
All right, and from there we're going to go to Route 3, which is Views and Brews. So we've talked a lot about Colorado and how scenic it is. We've got beautiful mountains. We've also talked about the 360 breweries that we have. So why not tie the two together? Now, of course, do the viewing and then do the brewing, but Fort Collins, just north of Denver, about an hour, is a great place to start. It's a university town. It's got a fun, really hip vibe. Also have a greater concentration, I would say, of breweries than most of our Colorado cities. So it's a great place to start. And again, you can tie anything, it's right by Rocky Mountain National Park too. You can always tie these things together. Going through and over to the western part of the US, or of Colorado, we're kind of going through Aspen, we're going through a lot of different towns, but Grand Junction is not just a beer town, it is also a wine town. Even though this is Views and Brews, there's 144 wineries in Colorado, many of which are in the Grand Junction area. And then I'd recommend coming back through Colorado Springs and then up to Denver. Colorado Springs is Colorado's second largest city. home to Garden of the Gods, which is the #1 most visited state park in the United States and is absolutely phenomenal. It's also where the Broadmoor is. But for those clients who might want to get out, not just visit Colorado, but visit some of the other Western states, we also have a multi-state itinerary for you. We have lots and lots of itineraries. We're happy to help. But the multi-state itinerary, this is a great example where you could go visit quite a few national parks. So if you wanted to start in Denver, maybe go to Rocky Mountain National Park. We always recommend Steamboat Springs on your way out of town or out of the state. It's a beautiful, really Western town. You know, head up then to Cody and Jackson, Wyoming. Of course, Jackson, Wyoming is one of the gateways to Yellowstone. Come back down through Utah, you know, where you'll see the red rocks that you also see on the western part of Colorado. Visit a couple of their national parks and then come back through Black Canyon of the Gunnison, which is just absolutely stunning. And then again, back to Denver. Nice, easy itineraries. We have lots of suggestions for you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Andrea. Yeah. I'd encourage everyone to come back and check out these itineraries in more detail. And if you have any questions about duration or, you know, how long you should spend in each place, just drop myself or Jennifer an email and we can help with any of these sorts of questions.
Yeah. But I think just on a general rule, I think probably at least 7 nights in Colorado if you wanted to do any of these itineraries. Yeah. 10 nights is probably, it's a nice relaxing trip where you can add on a couple nights or so in Denver. So I would say for a Colorado itinerary, that's a good start.
Yeah. So that's it in terms of content for the webinar. But I wanted to thank you all for your time and attention. You know, we're going to open the floor to some questions now, but before we do that, I just wanted to let you know that we have some amazing Colorado goodie bags that we'll be giving out to a select number of people randomly chosen who complete the Colorado webinar quiz. So this is available via the platform immediately after this webinar. It's 5 questions, all of which I hope we've mentioned the answer to during the webinar. I'm sorry if we haven't, but please go and have a go, and we'll be choosing 5 winners and sending out the prizes to your home address, assuming you'll share it with us next week. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and have a look at some of the questions that might have come in.
Sorry, I've been answering as we go. Yeah.
Okay. I've been sharing my screen. Okay, what does it say? Are there spa hotels at the hot springs? From Wendy Ross.
Yes, many of them are. So most famously, there is the Mount Princeton Resort that has a number of different hot springs right in there, right? And then there's also in Glenwood Springs, you'd have the Glenwood Springs Hot Springs Hotel, or at Pagosa Springs, the Pagosa Springs Hot Springs Hotels. We're happy to send you a list as well, so let us know. But further than that, a lot of the local hotels will also provide discounted passes to the local hot springs. Yeah.
Andrea, I can see you've been busy. You've been answering all these questions.
I had all this time, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so I think it was Karen who was asking about the fall foliage too, which we kind of start in the north. I would say the 3rd or 4th week of September is when we start seeing fall foliage. As you work your way to the southern part of the state, sometimes we can have leaves all the way through October. We have a lot of scenic byways on the itineraries, which, you know, we're happy to share with you. There is any part of the state that's absolutely fantastic. But some of the scenic byways, I would say, in the southern part of the state, a great itinerary is, you know, one, you could ride the Durango-Silverton narrow gauge railroad. In the fall, I did it in September. In the fall, it's absolutely stunning. Although we also got a little bit of snow, but snow and fall foliage is actually really, really stunning. So anywhere up in the mountains is amazing. Let's see, what else do we have? All right, so yeah, they were asking about May was asking about the itineraries and advising mileage. We do have drive times on many of these itineraries that we're happy to give you links to.
Yeah, I can share the Colorado Dropbox, which has, I'll send it to all participants as a follow-up. It has distance between, has all of the itineraries featured in today's webinar, plus about 10 more with mileage included.
Yeah. And then there's another question as to overbranding the route suggestions with your own logo. Yes, please. Absolutely. These are really just suggestions that we're providing. You could share those with your clients in any format you please.
We do have a question. It looks like it just came to me. Bethan, when is the deadline for the quiz? I actually don't know the answer to the question.
Shall we say week today? It's only 5 questions. Week today?
Next Wednesday, the 13th. All right. Yep. Well, we have to give them time to click on all the bubbles. There's a lot to learn about
Yeah, there's a lot.
Right. That's right.
So I have a question here from Kira from Platinum Travel. Do the historic trains need to be booked in advance?
Yes, we recommend absolutely, especially the most famous ones like the Durango Silverton. Absolutely book in advance, and you will receive commissionable rates from them. So do contact them. And Carrie Whitley is the contact if you need Carrie's contacts, or of course any of the receptives that you use would have access to them as well.
Sophie from Secret Escapes asks, could I ask for recommendations of areas of Denver to place clients in?
I say hands downtown would really be the best place. You know, again, we do have light rail. We have a great bus system. So anywhere in the city of Denver that they are is really easy to get around. But downtown, you're literally in the heart of everything. I happen to live in a neighborhood called Cherry Creek, which is near the Cherry Creek Mall. There's also a lot of really, really great hotels in this area, lots of bars, restaurants, shopping, all of that to do. And it's about a 10-minute bus ride to downtown. So that's another good place.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Karen Neven Bon Voyage. For people that don't ski, what is a good resort for a 7-night Christmas stay?
Oh, beautiful. You know, honestly, we have such a variety of winter activities beyond ski. So whether it is the snowshoeing or just hiking in the snow or just enjoying the towns, because all the towns have so much to offer as well. Great dining scene, etc. I think that any of your clients would be really happy in any of the mountain towns, even if they don't ski, because they have so much to offer. So whether it's Vail or Aspen or Telluride, but even a Ouray where there's not skiing directly, but you can still access, just have an amazing winter experience. A lot of these towns also do have hot springs either in town or close by. So, and that in the winter is an amazing activity when you're sitting in the hot springs with the snow falling. It's really magical.
I think Ouray is the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. It's literally
the Switzerland of America.
Yeah. It was Switzerland of America. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
So can we go back, because Kenneth had asked a question about flights from Manchester that I think we accidentally skipped over. So there are flights from Manchester to Chicago, which again, when we talk about easy access to get to Denver, there's I don't even know how many flights a day, 20, 25 flights a day between Chicago and Denver. So I believe United has a nonstop, well, of course, we're all curious to see what happens in the post-COVID world. But Manchester, Chicago, Denver, really easy routing. Or of course, there are flights from Chicago to a lot of the other Colorado cities as well.
Mm-hmm. Is that Iceland Air Manchester route flying currently, or what was flying? I think there was that route as well.
It was flying, yeah. And that's why we were saying, you know, in the northern part of the UK, Scotland, Ireland, you know, great connections, of course, via Reykjavik to get to Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Kenneth. Okay, Karen, it's been years since I've been to Telluride. Is the Peaks still the best swanky hotel there?
It's the Peaks remains to be a fantastic hotel. They've just done a bunch of renovations, and you know their spa is rated one of the top spas in Colorado. You know, if you want to stay downtown in the town of Telluride, I also love the new Sheridan Hotel. just it's such a classic Western hotel. That would be another great choice. But with the peaks, you can never go wrong. Yeah.
Alan from Discover North America. What do you think of Dunton Hot Springs? Is it easy to get there? I know what you think of Dunton Hot Springs, Jennifer.
You know, Dunton Hot Springs is probably, you know, of course I love everything in Colorado, but it's one of the most magical places, I have to say. It is not super easy to get to, but it's also not really difficult. So to give you an idea, it's roughly between Durango and Telluride, a little bit closer probably to Durango than Telluride. And you can fly into, if you're flying and you're not driving, then the closest airports are Telluride or Durango, or Cortez. And otherwise, there is a very scenic road that you would be driving up from either Telluride or Durango. And then it's another, probably a good 25 minutes off that main road to drive up, but it's easily, you do not need a 4-wheel drive to access it. It's just time. So it's about an hour and a half from Telluride is what I would say. And once you get there, the drive, it's so worth it. It is absolutely a magical place.
Great. So I think that's it for questions, unless anyone had any more questions. Oh, we got one more coming from Janice. How easy is it to get around the state if you preferred not to drive?
Not so easy. We're really a state that is best explored in a vehicle, just because we're so large and there are so many. There are distances between towns. Of course, you could always get on a coach. There's of course that option, but if you're sort of following your own route, other than in the main towns and cities, of course they all have public transportation. That's easy. But if you get outside of the towns, you would want your own car just to have that flexibility.
Yeah. So I think that's might be the last question, unless I've missed any. If anyone has any other questions, let us know. Otherwise, hopefully you all have my email address or the trainings at Black Diamond email address. Yeah, we're happy to answer any further questions that you might have. You know, always here to help about Colorado and Denver. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, for your time and attention. I hope this has been useful. And yeah, please go on and do the quiz, have a look at more of the content. There's so much on there. I'd hate for you to miss it. Everyone's saying thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. One more thing, we're going to follow up. We're going to follow up with an email to you with the Colorado resources. And that is the Dropbox that has all of the itineraries that we've mentioned before, but it also has images. It has our digital travel planner that you can share with your guests. Just some great resources. So have a look in those, poke around, and let us know if you need anything else. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Enjoy the sun.
And thank you for all the thank yous. It was
Thank you.
nice to meet you all.